witch putting the K in magic. I'm Joanna DeVoe, and you're watching another Every Which Way interview. And this time it's juicy, because I got to interview Evie and Whitney of SexLoveLiberation.com. That's right, we're talking about sex, baby, S-E-X. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss this. Hi, Evian. Welcome to Every Which Way.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's an honor. I love your blog, SexLoveLiberation.com. And yeah, I'm really excited to ask you all about it. Can we just start with the title, Sex, Love, and Liberation? I'm really intrigued by the addition of the word liberation at the end and how sex might play into that. Can you tell people a little bit about it?
You know, it's funny. A lot of people ask me about the name of, the blog and how I came up with it. And it's kind of funny that it really has there wasn't this magical moment where I was like, oh, this is what I'm going to call it. It was my husband actually created it for me. And I honestly have to ask him why it was that he thought sex, love, liberation should be in that order. We were sitting on the couch one day and he was just like, yeah, I think you should create a blog and call it Sex, Love, Liberation or something. And from there, it just seemed like a really good idea. And because of that, I was able to sort of wrap my own ideas and my own belief systems around this blog that he had suggested that I created. So
you had a blog before this, right?
Yeah, I did.
Pretty popular blog. Well, did he get that idea? Were you already talking about sex? Is that where that came from? Or?
Well, honestly, I had a friend approach me a couple years back, and she wanted me to write a few articles about porn. And I couldn't think of a way to do it on my current personal blog in a way that wasn't going to, I guess, scare people. Mm-hmm. So I was expressing my frustration to Jonathan, my husband, and I was just letting him know, I really wish that I could create or have a platform that I could use to talk about matters that probably are a bit taboo and, maybe I need to have disclaimers for, because the blog that I have now wasn't really, or the blog that I had then rather, wasn't really appropriate for that. So, and that's sort of how the conversation came about. He was just like, I think it would be great for you to branch out and try something new and, I guess kind of challenge yourself, really, because it was so new. It was so different. I went from doing fashion blogging to all of a sudden, I'm talking about porn and orgasms and sex and genitalia. So yeah, it was a huge adjustment, but it was great for me because it allowed me to really stretch my own wings and really come into my own purpose,
Yeah, so. I was going to ask you that. Do you feel like you're on your purpose? Like this is what you were meant to do with your life or part of what you were meant to do?
Absolutely. I think, and that's kind of where the liberation part plays into it, because this started out as just being something that I wanted to try. I felt like, why not? I could just create a blog. It was really simple. And then as I started doing the work and realizing that there was a hunger for this, I started to develop this huge passion and this sort of dedication to sex and discovering more about sexuality, and it was really liberating for me to actually see that. In the beginning, it didn't start out as something that I wanted to do for, I guess, a career. It was just something like a hobby, but now it's been over a year and I totally feel like this is the path that I'm supposed to be on. So it kind of chose me. I didn't really choose it. This whole speaking about sexuality thing definitely chose me. So it's great. It worked out.
Yeah, and people clearly have a hunger for it. You have a very active community of people that post and contribute. It's like a conversation. I highly recommend people go check it out if they're interested in sex, love, and liberation. It's really fun. I haven't personally joined the conversation, but I've been a lurker. I like to read.
Yeah, there's a lot of you guys out there that don't really like to come out in the front and write a comment or whatever. And that's one thing that I've been I've had to grow accustomed to, because for a while, you know, my whole identity, especially with my other blog, was wrapped around getting those comments. And then now I'm realizing when you're dealing with such a taboo topic such as sex, it can be a little daunting for someone to come to your blog and they really relate to it, but they don't want to put their name out there or their story. So I respect people's privacy, and I'm a lot more forgiving about having lurkers. Before, I'm like, why won't people talk to me? You know?
For me, I think I don't know what I think. I've always been a very, like, sexually charged kind of person, or drawn that kind of energy to myself, and in my 20s, I really used that, and, like, I don't know, it was almost a part of me. And then in my 30s, I started really, I don't know, questioning that and wondering about that and exploring it more and thinking about, well, why is that? And you just address things that are so interesting. Like, you know, with my first husband, we would get Playboy and look at it together, and we'd go through it. And Gloria Steinem has that famous quote about, I'm probably just going to mess up her quote here, but it's something about a woman, she feels like a woman reading Playboy is kind of like a Jew reading a Nazi manual. And you talk about porn, so do you see a difference between porn and maybe erotica, or do you think it's all good, and what are your opinions about that?
It's so weird, this whole porn thing. Like, it's a subject that when I first wrote about it in the beginning, like when I first started my blog, I thought that I had it all figured out, and I thought that, like, my opinions around it were completely formed and I didn't need to talk about it again. But this subject comes up so often, and I think it's because there's so many different layers to it. I mean, you've got good porn, you've got bad porn, you've got unethical porn, you've got ethical porn, and then you have erotica, which is like kind of like porn, but not really. Like, there's so many different elements to porn, and honestly, my opinion of it really depends on the day, because you know, it's so vast, and there's so much to cover. The topic itself is so broad, and there's so many different, I guess, things that you should think about when you're talking about porn. Like, you can't just think about one topic. Like, there's just so many different facets of it. And for me, like, I personally like erotica because it's one of those things that is not as daunting as porn. Like, I feel like porn is like in your face, like, bam, you know, and with erotica, it's often, if it's well written, it's often very slow, and you can go at your own pace, and your mind is able to sort of like connect the dots, whereas with porn, it's like bam, 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 bam. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't know if that makes sense,
it's
but
very gynecological.
Yeah, exactly, and it's very fast. You know, like, there's no warm ups, there's no, like, you know, I think for a lot of people, especially women, like, we want to be sort of eased into it. We don't necessarily want to be like, oh my God, cum shot, you know, like, it needs to be like very slow, and we need to like let our guards down with it, and we need to feel comfortable and safe. And so I always tell people that erotica is a really good place to start if they're looking for an external way of being turned on, or adding something to their already, you know, sexual life that, you know, they can explore with their partners. Because porn, I mean, it's a hit or miss, honestly. Like, there's some porns that are really good, but most of them are terrible. They're just bad. So
yeah, some of it's pretty degrading.
Right, exactly. Bad in that sense, bad in the sense that it's corny or fake, you know, like, it's really a hit or miss. At least with erotica, if you know who you're looking for, like, you're bound to be satisfied.
Are you
know?
talking about written erotica?
Yeah, that's typically that's what erotica is. So, like, written, or sometimes it'll be in comic book form. But I personally like written erotica because it is very again, like, very slow. You know, when you're reading a book, you can really sort of curl up to it and get comfortable and feel safe that this is something that you've chosen.
Yep.
And, you know, you can open yourself and your body and your mind to it.
It's almost like a co-creation when you're reading as well, because it's your mind
Right.
that's creating the pictures and stuff.
Exactly. You can imagine the characters, you can imagine the situations, you can imagine the smells, like, with porn, it's just so like in your face and like, it's so contrived, and I mean, they already have the plot made out for you. At least with erotica, you're able to go very slowly, and you can ease yourself into it. So I'm a fan.
I think we're both fans. I think we have in common being fans of Anais Nin. She was a huge influence on me in my early 20s, and I've just remained a fan. I think that she was truly one of the most interesting women on the planet.
Great. Anytime anyone's like, what kind of erotica would you recommend? I always tell them, like, Delta Venus, for sure.
Yeah.
Pick that up.
And she was, I like to joke that she was my gateway drug to Henry Miller, who I am freakishly fond of. I love him to pieces. And what's funny is you remind me a bit of Anais Nin.
Oh, that's nice.
And your husband, Jonathan Meade, was my gateway drug to sex, love, and liberation. I found him first and thought, I just loved that, kind of cool, hip way he presented himself. And then to find out he had this cool, hip, interesting wife. It was like bonus points, the sexiest couple on the internet.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, it's great. Like, we make a really good team, and I'm so glad that he's very a part of what I do. And, without his support, it would be very difficult to do what I'm doing now. So.
Yeah. What's it like working? You guys both work from home, right?
Yeah.
And you both work on the internet. Is that?
Yeah.
That must have its own challenges. I know it probably has benefits too, but.
Well, it depends. I think one thing I'm learning is that my work is very open. I talk a lot about my personal relationship with him, and he's okay with that. He has no problems with that. But there are boundaries with that. And so I'm learning that my way of expressing my art is different from his. And I mean, he is more, I feel like he's a little bit more introverted about like who he is, because that's not really what his purpose is. That's not really his mission. His mission is to help people create jobs that they love. And whereas mine is like, I'm going to bare my chest and, hope that I inspire others to, feel sexually liberated. So it can be a little conflicting, because I'll want to talk about something, or I'll tell him like, why didn't you like write about this yesterday that we did or whatever? And he's like, well, that's not really what I want to do. So it can be a little, tricky, but it really requires a lot of boundaries and a lot of communication. I can't just like publish something on Facebook without his permission. Like it's totally like we have to talk about it, and I have to make sure it's okay with him, because he is a co-creator too. Like whether or not he believes it, we'll be sitting in the bedroom. We did this a few weeks ago. He was like talking about something. I was like, hold that thought. I'm gonna go get a piece of paper, and I started writing it down. He's like, man, this is so funny to be able to be in this environment, and my wife is writing out my thoughts. And I'm like, well, your identity will remain, anonymous and stuff. So, I mean, I think for him, it's taken a little bit, but he really respects what I do, and that means the world to me. So I just keep doing it.
Yeah, you do it with a lot of dignity and grace, which is
I
nice.
do my best. It's hard to do that with sex, honestly. Like it's hard to talk about sex without it sounding raunchy, but I do my best to not make it so that it's scary, that people get
you do a great job. And it's interesting. Her husband is Jonathan Meade of Illuminated Mind, by the way, and he talks a lot about starting a revolution, kind of, around what you're doing. And I think that's what you're doing. People are like, yes, sex, love, liberation. And did you consciously, like in the beginning, think maybe you would build a community around that, or did that just happen organically?
No. It's so interesting. Like I literally wrote this blog, or started this blog for me. I wanted it to be about my own like coming of age, sexual awakening sort of thing. And then as I continued writing and I saw that there was such a hunger and a need for it, like I realized that I'm helping so many more people than I thought I would. So my readership, the comments that I get, it blows me away. I never expected it to get this big. And even when I first launched it, people were warning me. They're like, it's going to get crazy. Like what you're sitting on is huge. It's big. People are going to really, really gravitate towards you. And I'm like, whatever. Like, I'm just going to do me, And they were right. They were so right. And it's been a pleasant surprise. And, an adjustment, but it's good. I'm happy to help people.
Do you feel like since you've set this kind of graceful, pleasant tone that people are following suit, or do you get a lot of like strange attention that maybe you don't want?
It depends on the day. Sometimes it's like, people are they're very shy about speaking about sex, and they approach me very gingerly. And then there are other people who come straight out with their own outlandish fantasies and, bear all in an email. And, I don't judge either one of those things, because I feel that if people are comfortable enough to come to me about these things, like, even if it is something that I don't quite understand, or if it doesn't really turn me on, or if I have no business knowing these things, like, I'm just honored that people trust me enough and feel comfortable enough with me to be able to share those things, And, of course, I get the occasional search engine terms that are kind of disconcerting, but I'm sure these people, they come to my blog and they're really disappointed because what they're looking for isn't there, so they don't stick around.
Yeah. Does your family respond, or your close friends, like, do they get it? Are they religious? Are you religious? Like, I know that's a lot of questions, but in my mind it goes together.
Well, when I first started my blog, my mom is very, very modern. She has her own blog. So when I had my personal blog, she would always read it and comment. It was sort of like a mother-daughter thing to do. Like, oh, I read your blog the other day. Well, then I transitioned into this, this sex thing. And, they were very happy about that. I think they were puzzled by my own belief systems, and my own, like, coming out as bisexual was one thing that really just, like, scared the crap out of them. But then they were also really fearful of me, the position that I was putting myself in to, get bad feedback from people and air my dirty laundry, about my marriage. And so it took several conversations with both of my parents before they finally said, we're not going to read your blog anymore because it makes us uncomfortable. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. I was okay with them reading it. I didn't really care, because I feel that it's important to be authentic, and I am their daughter, and they should know about these things. But if they don't want to read it, that's okay by me. And it also has to do with religion too. They're very, like, religious, and my dad even said something about me talking about pornography and how I was telling women that if they want to watch porn, they should watch porn. There's nothing that they should be, ashamed of. And he's like, I'm fearful that you're causing people to stumble. And, I don't feel right. It doesn't feel right to me that you're telling people to watch depravity and stuff. So there is a conflict there, but, this is what I'm supposed to do. So, and I don't expect them to understand, and it's okay,
You explore things that make me uncomfortable, and I don't even know you. Like, you've been like tossing around ideas about, am I saying this right? Polyamory?
Oh, polyamory, yeah.
Okay, I have to say, anytime something, besides war, pedophilia, or GMOs, something that's like obviously evil, anytime something gets like a really big rise out of me, I always think like, ooh, I'm hovering over, an issue here, and I'll kind of lean into it. So that actually opened my mind a little bit to that, but it really, I'm like getting hot just talking about it, because really it's about being in a committed relationship with one person. It's not just about sex, but it's also then having, I don't know if it's committed, but also a deep personal, not just sexual relationship with other people.
It really, polyamory is one of those umbrella words that, like, could mean so many other things. For some people, it means that, they have sex with, and just sex with other people, and their partner is aware of it, and it's just sex. There's no romantic feelings involved. It's just physical. And then there's others where they actually form families, where they have a husband, and then they have a girlfriend, and then their girlfriend has a girlfriend, and they all live together and raise children. And it really depends on the couple and the family and stuff like that. So polyamory can mean so many things,
Yeah. I'm such a serial monogamist, and and I like, it's definitely not something I'm proud of, but I'm very, jealous, like, mine, about that. And so that, I think, was the issue that I was hovering over with it. And I did do some more exploring, and there's another guy, I don't remember his name, on YouTube, but he made a really interesting video on it. And he opened my mind to it a bit, talking about how we don't own other people.
It's true.
And he was talking about it as a spiritual practice. Do you think of it that way? Is that something that I know you're just tossing it around in your head right now, but is that like what you're leaning toward?
I don't know. Honestly, like, I went through this point, both Jonathan and I did, where we were avidly seeking it, exploring it, and for some reason, it just wasn't happening. Like, we were putting ourselves in these positions where we could meet people, and it wasn't happening. It wasn't turning out. And it wasn't anything other than, like, we just couldn't find people that would be okay with the fact that, oh, I'm married and I want to date other people and my husband's okay with it. Like, it is really weird. And so because of that, we've actually, we've stopped seeking it. We've just sort of said, if it's meant to happen, it will happen on its own. But we're
interesting.
Open
you must have burnt through a lot of those, like, preliminary feelings. It was like a test run or something.
Yeah, it was kind of frustrating because, like, we went through this period where, we were doing research, we were having all these conversations. I was reading books and, we were having discussions with other people that have been in polyamorous situations, and, we were ready. Like, I was like, I'm ready for battle. Like, I'm so ready. And then it just, and it had nothing to do with me or with Jonathan. We couldn't find the right people. And I think that says something, maybe we're not ready. Maybe our relationship isn't equipped for this right now or ever, but the fact is that, exploring it with him really allowed us to, I guess, get closer in some ways, which is really weird because you'd think that if your significant other is talking about wanting to date other people and have sexual relationships with other people, you think that it would drift you further apart. But for us, like, it really sort of unified us and really made us understand why it is we love each other. Yeah. It's weird how that works.
You have from the outside looking in, you have a really beautiful relationship. You're very supportive of each other. And kind of flirty. You guys had been at a party, and it came up in my Twitter feed, like, almost back to back. It's like he's posting a picture of you at the party. You're posting a picture of him at the party. And I was like, that's how it's done,
Yeah.
Like, keep the flirtation alive. And
I think it's important because, I don't know why this is, but I feel that people think that when you get married, you suddenly, like, a part of you dies. Like, your character and your personality and your hunger for, I don't know, for experimentation and exploration just dies, and one of the best things about my relationship with Jonathan is that we both acknowledge that while we're together and we're committed to each other, we're still two different people, and we're developing, and we're still young, so we're growing, and we're going through all kinds of evolutions and stuff like that, and that's okay. He nurtures my self-growth and I nurture his, and in that process we maintain this kind of playfulness about our relationship, because I feel that it's so serious. Like, people make relationships and marriages to be so serious, and I didn't want mine to be like that. I wanted to be able to be free, where, other people would probably feel, constricted or whatever. So
yeah, you seem like a free spirit in general. I like that.
It's funny. I honestly, I don't feel like a free spirit. If you would have talked to me, if you would have talked to me like 5 years ago, oh my gosh, I was such a little clam. Like, I had such problems, like, opening up. And so it's funny that you say that, because I feel that this journey of creating the blog that I have now has really allowed me to open up and experienced life in a different way, you know.
You set yourself free.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm back to liberation. You liberated yourself, you know.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
Exactly.
And then you have a manifesto, a book that is of the same title, right?
Yes, I do.
What do we get with that book?
Well, basically this book is something I wrote like several months after I started the blog, because I felt like I needed to compile all of my thoughts and all of my beliefs into one resource, so that people knew, like, this wasn't just a stereotypical sex blog. Like, this was going a lot deeper into things that people don't talk about, which is, you know, sensuality. Like, no one ever talks about sensuality and what it means to be sensual. So I wrote this book with all of these different ideas of what sex means, and genders and orientations, and love, what self-love is, and what I think self-love is, and what self-love isn't. And then we go into liberation, and you know, it was really just a culmination of everything that I've always wanted to talk about, and then what I wanted to give to other people. So it's short, but it's sweet. So, and I put a lot of love into it, and it really just sort of goes with the blog itself. So
cool. And I'm very curious about this, because I've been giving a free ebook away to new subscribers to my site. And soon I'm going to create a new free product and make that one for sale. But I'm a little like, how much is nice to charge or appropriate? Yeah. And then you have name your own price. Like, how does that work? Like, how has that been working for you?
I was inspired by Tara Gentile of, I believe it's taragentile.com. And she started doing these name your own price deals with her book, The Art of Earning. And I thought that was brilliant, because, you know, we live in a society where, like, everything feels very like it's only for privileged people, you know, and where I could put my book, I could put a price on my book, and I didn't want people to think that only privileged people with this certain amount of money could be able to get it, because I really believe in it, and I believe in what it says, and I want everyone to share that wealth, you know? So for me, it was just a matter of, like, ethics. I just started thinking, like, you know, it would be not, I mean, I need money, you know, like we need to eat food and stuff like that. But, it's really important for me to be able to offer this to people at a price that they can choose on their own. That way it feels very valuable to them. And it's also very comfortable, you know, they don't feel like they're selling their soul to get a book, you know? So for me, it was just about making it easy and keeping the barrier of entry pretty low, so that people could enjoy my work without feeling like, oh man, I don't have enough money, I can't afford it. So, and it's been working really well. You know, for a while it wasn't name your own price, it was an array of different prices, and the name your own price, it works for the manifesto. Totally.
Cool. I might follow suit. I like that idea.
Yeah, you should give it a try.
I might. And you're a really good writer, and I think that's why you remind me of Anais. It's kind of a combination of the writing, exploring sexuality, but also using your own life, like, as an experiment and adventure. Yeah. I really relate to that. I hope you write more books. Do you have anything planned?
I would love to write another book. I'm, like, itching to write one, but right now I'm in the process of formulating and creating this online community where people can go and talk about sex in a safe place, because I don't feel like that's here. I mean, I feel like, you know, sex is, like, paramount. We all have it. We all want it. Or we've all had it at one point in time, and we don't have a place to talk about it openly. So I'm trying to create a community online where people can go, and it'll be very private and very exclusive. And I'm really excited about that. I'm hoping that I can get that launched in a few weeks, because after that, like, I really want to devote some time to writing a book, because I think it's time, and I'm really excited about it. So
yeah, it seems you're cut out for that. Is this going to be a forum, this community that you're talking about?
I'm thinking so, yeah. It's going to be, like, in a forum space, but it's going to be more than that. It's going to be about, like, creating relationships and building trust amongst people so that they can feel open to talk about sex, but also learn from each other as well. And I did a test run of this on a Facebook group, and we had so much fun, and we formed a lot of amazing bonds in just like 3 short months. So I know that this is something it's definitely needed. So I'm excited to launch it because I've been thinking about it all year. So
Yay.
I'm ready to just push it out there and move on,
So that's what's next in the short term. Do you have a URL that we can tell people about now if they find this video a couple weeks from now? Or a place where they can just go to your website, Sex Love Liberation.
Yeah, go to my website, because if I give it away now, I might hate myself for it later. So,
okay.
It's really like under wraps. I'm trying to keep it like really secret. But yeah, if people stay tuned to my website, they'll have a way to find out.
Okay. Do you have any long-term plans? Like, you see where this is going? Or are you just sort of flying by the seat of your pants here?
A little bit of both. I would love to do some live events. I would really love to like meet my readers and get to know them. People keep telling me that I need to do a workshop eventually. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's something that I like to do eventually. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm sort of the type of person that lives day by day, and I don't try to place expectations on where I should be or how many readers I should have or how many page views. And, I think for me, what matters most is the art of creation and the relationships that I build through my work. So I'm going for it.
I think this is going to grow into something very, very big, that we're just seeing the beginning of this, because I think your voice is needed. So it's been an honor and a pleasure getting to talk to you. And I'm going to link to sexloveliberation.com below. And thank you, Evian,
thank you so much for having me. Yeah, thanks. It was great to get to know you, and I'm so glad that we were able to chat today.
Yay, much love. Peace.
Yeah, bye.